This gorgeous temple here with the 4 stairs on each side, and the snake heads was the Temple of Venus, and it has the offering area right out front, the circle offering area, and it's a absolutely beautiful little temple. It's basically a miniaturized El Castillo. Good morning from my little Airbnb here in Cancun. It's currently about 4:30 in the morning, so very freaking early, but that's because I'm getting picked up right now and we're about to head down to see some ruins. We're going over to Chichen Itza and another one I can't think of the name of that's right by Chichen Itza that I have never been to before. I have been to Chichen Itza, just going again to show you guys, and it's also been over 10 years since I've been. So, looking forward to it, and I'll see you guys when I get out there. So we have made it into Chichen Itza. This is my second time here, but the last time was about 15 years ago. So I definitely don't have any video from that, and I have very few photos from it. So figured I'd stop here on this trip to make a video for you guys, and it's kind of a rush trip because, I mean, obviously I came all the way from Cancun to get out to here, and we're also going to another site which is more important to me after this, and we will be the only ones there. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information here while we're walking around, but I think of all the ancient sites in Mexico, this is the one most people already know the most about. And like I said, we're going to be pretty rushed. I don't know how much of the entire place we're going to even be able to get to see while we're here. So let's keep heading up to El Castillo, the main pyramid, main temple here in the center of Chichen Itza. And here we are at the main temple here, El Castillo, with these very hungry looking dogs over there. I'm so mad at myself for not bringing any food in here. I was not thinking about it at all, and normally we're always bringing food. Oh, and more pups coming over here and starting to fight. Apparently the dogs definitely have their own territories here, and they were not thrilled with those other dogs coming over. They were not happy about that. But on to a little bit of facts about this place. Chichen Itza was basically like a melting pot of Mayan civilization. I'm using Mayan as like a vague term for all of the different peoples who lived in the region. And there's a lot of different architecture and art styles that you will see here from the different regions, from the south, from even over into Tenochtitlan, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong, over by Mexico City. And it's all brought here and made these incredible monuments here. And this central part of the city was not a living part. This was the religious center, the community center, but people actually lived on like the outskirts of the city, and they really don't know how far out from the city that extended, but this was one of the largest cities in the region, and at one point it actually was the capital of the region after, I guess you can say, the fall of Koba, which I'll be going tomorrow. That was probably about 1000 AD that this was the capital of the area, and it seems like the capital kind of progressively moved north. I don't know if that was just because of resources, because it's kind of thought that the Mayans drastically depleted the resources in their areas, and that was one of the causes of their falls. But I don't really know, because these cities themselves were so massive even by the time the conquistadors had gotten here. So it's hard to really know, especially considering that the Spaniards and the conquistadors destroyed so much of the writing and the inscriptions and everything from these sites. It's one of those things that they're slowly uncovering more and more. They actually even recently found a cenote underneath of this main temple, which, well, I guess they didn't really find it. They know that it exists down there, but they still have not actually accessed it. And I doubt the public will ever have access to it. Just like we don't have access to the main throne room up there. It's something I'm never going to get to see. There is a similar throne at one of the other pyramids here that I don't know if I'm going to have time to get to. And if I do, then I'll show you it. But it's heavily decayed in comparison with this one up here. But this city, originally being built after the turn of the century and going on for about 1,500 or so years after that, before its eventual fall. Like all of these ancient sites all around the world, they had built on top of other pyramids, other temples. They already know that there's even more below this, or there was an older temple below this that maybe someday will be uncovered and excavated, but who really knows? So I've already wandered off of my group. I thought I was going to hang out with them for a little bit longer, but I hate the whole standing around in one location when you could be walking around and exploring the site. So I couldn't do it. If you are coming with a tour, expect that to be how it's done, where you just stop and stand at one location while they give you all the information. There's a handful of tours around the world that they'll do the wireless speakers, so you can at least wander and still hear them, but that's not how they're doing it here. It is so absolutely freaking incredible though. And for whatever reason, it said that this area is closed after 4:30 p.m. Not really sure the reason for that, but it's open right now because it is definitely not 4:30 p.m. and this is apparently where the archaeological digs are still actively going on. Last time we were here, we saw it happening actually underneath the main pyramid, but I think that at the moment they aren't digging down there, and I see them digging up here, or at least doing some restorations. I always love seeing the archaeologists work. It always completely blows my mind when there are carvings and inscriptions like they have up on these pillars that are still there at all, especially as detailed as they are, considering that this area is completely exposed to the elements. Like there's no shade, no coverage at all. So when it rains, they're getting hit. When it's windy, they're getting hit. But yet those pillars still have extremely visible carvings and inscriptions on them. And there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. This is definitely a site that I kind of always push against doing tours like I'm on right now, unless it is the only option. But this is a site I definitely would highly recommend against doing any type of large organized tour, because with the one I'm on, like we're only here for 2 hours, and there are other tours where you might be here for 3.5 hours. But even then, it's just nowhere near enough time for a site that's this freaking large. You really should give yourself, I'd say, at least 5 to 6 hours minimum. But if you can, get here when they open and leave when they close. That's one of the reasons I really did want to rent a vehicle on this trip, but my dumbass forgot or lost. I'm really hoping I forgot my license and I find it when I get home. But I had planned to rent a scooter and go out to see sights. Oh my gosh, that sun is hitting me right in the freaking eyes right now. But yeah, since I don't have my license, I couldn't rent a scooter to drive out to these sites on my own. And if I did, Chichen Itza was not even going to be on my list. It was going to be all sites I haven't been to. But it is what it is. I'm going to make the best of it and show you guys as much of this site as I can cram into 2 hours. I love to see the protection that they put over some of these bas reliefs here on the wall, protect them from the elements, like I was saying with those pillars out there. It would be kind of nice if they would build large versions of this over the entirety of it. I realize that would detract a little bit from the look, but at the same time, like, it should be, we should be trying to preserve these as much as we can. This whole mostly unexcavated area, well, area that looks unexcavated, was another temple similar to the Temple of the Warriors up front that they excavated around the 19th century, but as you can see has not been reconstructed at all, and they've surrounded it by some serious freaking barbed wire to keep people out, which I kind of feel like they need to just start doing around all of the temples, because there's too many assholes lately who have been climbing them. And I'm not opposed to climbing the pyramids. I love being able to, like Ekbalam. I hear that you can still do it at Koba, but you have those freaking assholes who climb up there and then carve their freaking names into the sites. And that's one of the main reasons that we can't climb any of them here anymore. So don't be a dick. If a place is roped off, don't go into it. Definitely don't fucking carve your name on any of these ancient sites. I don't understand why some people feel the need to do that crap. But this whole area back here that I'm walking through like the jungle portion of the site, is if you walk straight past the main pyramid when you're walking in, this kind of brings you back into these temples and these pyramids. And these are the ones that I think most people skip on when they come here, especially when they're part of one of those large tour groups, because those groups are so limited on time and they stand in one spot and talk. They keep you up there by the main pyramid, so you'll see the large ball court and some of the other temples up there in that area, but they don't really get to walk through the jungle portion of Chichen Itza. Like I was saying, give yourself a really long time here if this is something you are really interested in and really passionate about. And if you want to have any type of tour guide, get a private one. They really aren't that expensive to get a private tour guide, but to get a private tour, it is pretty expensive. Look at this. This is freaking incredible up here. I have reached the end of where you're allowed to walk back here, and down there you can see they're actively excavating and digging up what looks like a crap ton of sand around a temple down there. But there's no boards around here to tell me what the temple is, just this prohibited entry sign. But everything around here, well, besides this pillar area, everything over on the other side is a completely unexcavated area. Well, unrestored area. It has been partially excavated, but none of it's actually been put back together. And that's the way you see it at a lot of more of the obscure sites. Like I'm sure the one we're going to after this is going to have a lot of not rebuilt areas. Ekbalam had quite a few of the mounds that have been completely not excavated and not rebuilt. But it gives a good perspective of the actual work that had to have been done to make the ones that we see, that were the main ones we come for. They were all found in that condition. Like, I mean, the main pyramid was still a pyramid, but it was heavily overgrown, ball courts and all that stuff. A lot of them were largely crumbled and had to be actually reassembled because they looked like these ones here in the woods when they were found. I'm going to give you a quick look at this map here to just kind of give you an idea of the layout of this site. This area right here is where I'm at right now, which is the area that's behind and through the pillars behind the main temple. And then this area right here was the area that I saw them actively excavating that we weren't allowed to go back to any farther. So I'm heading up here back towards the main temple, and I'm going to be taking, I think, a left up here and trying to head over to like the sacred cenote, but I don't know how much of that area is open. And I actually feel like I maybe didn't even go back to that my last time here, but I could be wrong. So let's head up that way and walk past some of this stuff I've already walked by. As I'm walking by all these shops setting up, I should let you guys know. I mean, if you want to buy this stuff from them, feel free. I mean, I guess you're helping the locals in a sense by giving them the money. But none of the stuff that you buy in here in Chichen Itza are made locally. It's all China made, and it's all pretty overpriced China made. There are shops that you can go to where you can actually buy very similar things that were actually made locally, which is definitely what I would recommend doing more than getting the stuff in here, because a lot of this stuff is freaking huge, and I don't know why you would want to carry it around a site when it's 80 to 90 degrees outside and 100% humidity. So this area I'm walking down now is if you were to walk through that pillar area just after the main temple and then turn right, this is that area. Or if you continued straight past the pillars like I did originally and you were coming back towards the pillars, you would turn left just before you walk through the path, and it brings you down here around this gigantic freaking building. I was not directionally stupid, and I am walking in the correct direction towards the cenote. One of the workers here around site pointed me to it. And just like all these spots that are off of the main path, like there's just no one here, which is weird because there's literally hundreds or thousands of people up there by the main temple. And this would be if you were to when you come up on the main temple, if you turn right kind of through the woods, it doesn't look like there's anything here. It's really just shops and people working and excavating and stuff. But the cenote is straight back there if you just keep heading back. So this little temple right here is the Temple of Zoltek. It's right by the cenote of the same name, and it's the second largest cenote on this site, at least as of now. I mean, like I said, that one underneath the pyramid, they haven't really accessed yet. And at one point, there were bas reliefs up in there of different animals, birds, things like that in the area. But it seems as of now that it's all kind of been washed away by nature. And like everything else on this site, you're definitely not allowed up into there. But it's still a cool little stop with no people around. So I'm walking over here to, I believe, the cenote edge. And it is a freaking drop. Oh my gosh. So I don't know how well it's coming through on the camera of how far down that cenote is. But I mean, it's easily 60, 70 feet down, maybe even more. It's a pretty steep drop too, though. There would be no way I would be able to climb down this hill without falling on my ass and hitting about 20 trees on the way down. And the water is extremely still and quite murky. Some cenotes you'll go to, the water's quite nice looking, surprisingly, but this one is quite murky. The temple back here was actually found with some burials or human remains in. And a lot of times the cenotes, they I guess you can say buried their dead in them. So I have exactly 1 hour left before I've got to meet my group back at the entrance. So I'm exiting this cenote area, which I am almost certain I did not actually walk back here on my first time here. And heading back up to the opposite side of the main pyramid, which is where like the main ball court is, which is the largest ball court probably in any Mayan city. It's an absolutely massive ball court. And if any of you don't know, I mean, I'd be surprised if you don't, about the Mayan ball game and how brutal it actually was, and how hard it would be considering the size of that freaking stadium. So let's head up to that ball court and I'll give you guys a glimpse of it. Show you guys on the map real quick where I'm at. This is the cenote area. Try to scurry down this path up here. I guess it would be to the right of the main temple when you're walking towards it, and come down here and see some of these secondary pyramids and temples that it looks like all those other places I just stopped, none of the tourists walk down to. I'll show you right here on the map real quick where it is. Right around here is where I'm at, main temple. So this is where I walked the first way. This is down here towards the cenote. Now I'm up over here. I'm going to try to scurry down here and see all this as quick as I can. And then if I can show you the ball court a little bit at the end before I run out, then I will. This pillar here behind me that I'm now walking away from because a little group got up there and started talking was a representation of some of the gods. And it's absolutely beautiful. And there was one of those at each of the corners of it. Not any longer. They've crumbled or been destroyed. This gorgeous temple here with the 4 stairs on each side, and the snake heads was the Temple of Venus, and it has the offering area right out front, the circle offering area, and it's a absolutely beautiful little temple. It's basically a miniaturized El Castillo. So now I'm about to walk by the bombardment of shops again to head on out. I do think there's a little bit more farther in. Do I have the time? Do I have the time? I'm gonna make the time. I'm gonna run down there. Yeah, I have enough time to run down there. I am pretty amazed by the amount of actual archaeological digging that is actively going on right now at this site. The last time I was here, I feel like there was only the one area underneath the main pyramid. But this time there's been at least 4 areas I've seen them actively digging. And up here, where I'm apparently not able to go, but I'm gonna give you guys a glimpse of it. There's a dozen people over here digging up this this pyramid. Like that last area that was completely blocked off from letting us in. They didn't move the signs or anything out here to let me know what this pyramid was, so I can't really give you any info on it right now. Maybe I'll voice it over, but I hate doing voiceovers. But this one, it looks absolutely freaking incredible. It reminds me more of what we would have seen in like El Tahin or I feel like even Koba, with how incredibly vertically up and down it is. It's not like the main pyramid or the Venus area, offering a Venus area over there. Like, this is almost vertical. And it's pretty incredible looking from what I can see from a distance. But we are not able to go up in there at all. But maybe when you guys get here, if you come in several years, it'll be open and you'll be able to get up closer to it and get some better shots and video of it. Because it's beautiful. But I'm going to start heading back now towards the main ball court area and get a little glimpse of that before we gotta rush out of here. And I made it back out to the main plaza about an hour and a half or so since we got here, and there are easily thousands more people here than right when they open. So just like all these archaeological sites, you really want to get here first thing when they're opening. That way you at least avoid the crowds for a little portion of it. And it's also still the early point in the day, so it's not as brutally hot yet. It's still probably about 80 degrees, but the sun here in this region of Mexico is absolutely freaking brutal. So definitely want to sunblock up when you're coming out here. Bring a hat, an umbrella, something like that, so you don't get completely baked up in the sun. But I am walking my way over to this absolutely massive freaking ball court. I kind of like that there's so many people in here because it gives a perspective of the actual size of this ball court. And I don't know if there's any other ones on the site that are actually open to the public, because I know there's numerous ball courts here, just like all the Mayan cities, which would have been nice because I could have showed you the drastic size difference between like a normal size ball court and this epic thing. And the hoops way up there, or the rings way up there on the wall, were what they were trying to get their hard ass ball up through. And I mean, those hoops up there are 20 feet or more up. So it's pretty incredible. And the whole edges, or at least most of the edges, have still visible bas reliefs on them. They aren't heavily detailed because they are exposed to the elements, but they are still incredible nonetheless. Anybody who's been following my channel for a little bit knows that we had just gotten back from 3 weeks in Turkey, seeing archaeological sites every single day. The main, I guess you could say, biggest popular one is Ephesus, which is a main cruise ship stop, so you get a lot of people visiting that. And even that site only had a tiny fraction of the number of people that are here at Chichen Itza. So keep that in mind, because I mean, there's no time of the year, I think, that you can come to Chichen Itza and it not have thousands and thousands of people. And if you're coming during like the equinox time, when they cast the shadows along the pyramids and stuff, I mean, you're talking probably 250,000 people crammed in to this place. So it would be quite uncomfortable, especially if you really don't like crowds. But as you can see, as it is, even though there's so many people, this site is so huge, you can easily kind of get away from the crowds and have areas completely to yourself. Well, I have made the circuit, and I think I have actually made the circuit rushing through most of the site. So you'll get at least a short little glimpse of pretty much all of Chichen Itza. But obviously my history and my facts aren't filling this video, as I was really rushing as much as I could. But after walking around this whole site yet again, I do think that the statement I made earlier in the video, and that I've been making for years, that there are more impressive sites in Mexico than Chichen Itza, is true. And it's kind of shocking to me that there's just so freaking many people coming here, and not to those other sites that are better. El Tajín is incredible. I mean, one of the best I've seen anywhere in the world, let alone just Mexico. And same with Mount Alban. That's one that if you're staying in Oaxaca, not like Cancun, a lot of times you'll be going to Mount Alban because it's right there. And I personally liked it more than this. Because one, you can climb the pyramids still. And when you do, you get an overview of the entirety of the city, and it's just incredible. I literally sat up there for 15-20 minutes just overlooking the incredibleness of Mount Alban. So, not saying that this site isn't amazing, because it is, but don't skip on the less visited sites. Well, it's that time. I gotta head back and meet up with my group so I don't get abandoned here. A couple hours in from Cancun, it would kind of suck. So I'm heading out now. And if you guys have watched this whole video and you haven't already, hit the like button down below, subscribe. And in the next video, I'll be showing you the other ruins we're headed to. And I don't know the name of it, but I'll put it in the next video. So see you guys there.